guys, and welcome to my tank stamina Templar PvP build. This is a two-handed restoration staff stamina Templar build that is pretty much just full bulk, no sustain, relying entirely on the Sigic meditate skill. It is a really cool build. Yeah, it's different. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's super tanky. It hits super hard too. And it is really good for no CP as well. So if you want to bring this guy into like battlegrounds, etc., it'll be a great build for that. Enjoy the rest of the footage, and we'll check that build out.
Nothing too much. When I think about the future, nothing too much. When I think about the future.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so let's take a look at the build. So to begin, I am a Nord. For this build, guys, I think Nord is BIS if you want to go tank. Orc is going to be BIS if you want to go damage. And that's pretty much it. There are other races that work well, races that give you health regen especially. But specifically Nord and Orc because they give you the max stam, the max health, the health recovery, and they give you either the bonus damage or the bonus kind of damage reduction. So there you go. Nord for tank, Orc for damage. Let's take a look at these stats. 34k HP, just about 32k stamina, and 16k magicka. We are playing a meditate build, so having larger max stat pools is very important, including this higher amount of magicka here. So this is awesome. The big health pool is also really great because that's going to play into our survivability, just giving us more health for enemies to have to kind of chunk away at before they can kill us. Taking a look at our regens, our magicka stamina recovery coming in at a beautiful 534. Bare bones. We have absolutely nothing in recovery at all, so that's fine. Health recovery coming in at 1400 unbuffed. When we buff up with our potion, we get up to 1586. We are running the Troll King. When we are fully buffed, we get up to 4400 health recovery on this build. So lots of health recovery on this spec, guys. It goes a long way to keeping us alive, and it's a big part of why our meditate is so strong. If we didn't have this really high health recovery, we would not be able to sit and meditate like we can and just take damage. So you have to have the health recovery on a build like this in order to get meditate to work in combat the way that we use it here. So taking a look at our weapon damage, we buffed this bad boy up, and we're coming in at 2,800. With our Torug's Pact enchant, which is 600 base, we actually get up to 3,600 weapon damage on this build. So 3,600 weapon plus the 32k stam, not so bad at all. And we do actually have Minor Berserk as well, and the Torug's Pact Disease Enchant. So we actually deal quite a bit of damage on this build for how much tank we have. It's actually quite surprising. And I think this is a really cool build because it really plays that very tanky, very bursty spec. And it's interesting. It works really well against quite a few things in Cyrodiil. So let's take a look at the armor. So we're going to buff up the armor as well. We'll go on our resto staff here, and we'll fully buff it. 28k spell resist and 24.5k physical resistance. Very nice armor. Our physical resist is a little bit lower than the spell resist, but it's not too bad. This is not incredibly high for heavy armor, but it's not bad at all. The fact that we get both the major and the minor buffs that we're running the resto staff to helps bulk us up even further. So, yep, that's going to be great. Crit resist coming in at 2,877. Lots of crit resist on this build, guys. We have to have it. We're very chunky, so we have to take a lot of damage. So having a massive amount of crit resist is very important. You want to aim for that 3k mark on a build like this. For the Mundus that we're running on the build, we are using the Steed Mundus. This is very important, I think, for this build because it gives us the health recovery, which we need. And then also it gives us that bonus movement speed. We're not very fast, so this 5% actually helps out a little bit. We are a Stage 1 Vampire. I would not recommend that you be a Vampire for this build. Stage 1 Vampire is essentially a human that has you know, can become a vampire if they don't feed, essentially. So I have no negative vampire effects at all. So I'm just kind of in human mode for this build. But you don't want to be a vampire on it because it'll cut your health recovery, and that's not what you want for this spec. And then finally, for the food that we're running, we are running the increase all primary stats purple food. And this one is actually very important for this build that you use this food in particular, not only because one of our sets requires that we use it, but on top of it, look at the amount of stats it gives us. 4,462 health, 4,100 magicka and stamina. Yeah, that's like that's like almost 13k max stat from this food alone, and we need all of this. We need the max magicka pool, we need the max stam pool, we need the max health pool. So this is BIS food for this build. You don't want to run any regen, you just want to run max stat on this spec. And then finally, for the potions that we use, guys, this one is kind of ambiguous and up to you, but I was using the Essence of Health potions here. They restore my health, and they give me the health recovery bonus, which is really good. And then on top of it, we get that lingering health, 1,077 health every second for 48 seconds. So this is just kind of a play to make our health recovery really, really powerful. You don't want to run tripods on this build. You definitely don't need the Magicka Stamina Sustain. Don't feel tempted to run potions that give you sustain on this build. Run potions that give you things like maybe CC immunity, give you healing over time, give you healing buffs, etc. I think this is probably the best all-around potion you can run for this build because, one, it's cheap, and two, it works really well for the spec. You can go with an immovability potion if you want, and a max health recovery, immovability, and maybe weapon crit to make up for that missing weapon crit buff. You'll have a little bit less healing over time, but the CC immunity could help you maybe spend more time in your meditate than you would otherwise. But yeah, you have some options with your potions, but this is the cheapest one. You can actually make a potion like this that has major vitality on top, but that's straight up like, I don't know, like 500 to 1,000 gold per potion to drink a potion like that. So, a little bit too expensive for my taste, but if you guys really want to go all out, you could fully upgrade this and run that pot if you want. So let's take a look at the gear that we're running on this build, guys. To begin, we have a 5-piece Troll King on, like I had mentioned before, and this guy's important. 2% healing done, which is nice because we are a tanky. We're going to be doing some healing, and finally, we get that health recovery. 1,500 health recovery when our health drops below 50% and we heal ourselves. We're running Rally, so pretty much whenever we drop below 50%, Troll King will proc and we will get that heal. And yeah, it's 1,500 base health recovery. We're a Nord with quite a few bonuses into health recovery via our champion points, etc. So this ends up giving us well over 2,000 health recovery when it procs. Very, 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 very powerful set. And on this build, it is incredible. Definitely must have. The next set that we're running, and this one might be a bit of a surprise, if we are running the Green Pact set. So this is a mix of a max health and a health recovery set. So we get the max health, health recovery, max health, and then on the 5-piece, 2,400 health and 240 health recovery. If we golded this out, it'd be 2,500, 250. So this set was picked actually because of the amount of max stat it gives. If you compared this set to something like, let's say, Necropotence, which is going to give you 3,500 magicka, this 5-piece is going to give us a lot more than Necropotence is going to give, especially since we really need all the stats that this set is giving. So this is one of actually the best max stat sets in the game, and because we need the health and the health recovery, and we're using that food that gives us the huge bulk that we need as well, this was a perfect fit for this build. And yeah, this is part of that recovery game. Very good set. Very good set. The big plus side of this set too is that you can just buy it from people because it's a dropped world set, and it is very, very, very cheap. This is actually a really cheap build to put together, which is kind of sweet. So let's move on to the next set that we're running, and it is the 5-piece of Torug's Pact. That's right, Ebonheart Pact. We're running the double Pact sets. No big deal. But yeah, Torug's Pact is traditionally used on a Magicka build, or maybe a tank build. This is a tank build, but it's stamina. I still went with Torug's Pact, though, because we were lacking a little bit on the damage, and the Torug's Pact bonus to the enchant that it gives actually ups your damage a lot. Not only that, but we still have the Minor Berserk as well, which ups that enchant damage too. So there you see it, 6,300 disease damage on a 1.5 second cooldown. What does this mean for this build? Well, it means that all of our tooltips essentially get a bonus 6,000 damage on them. So there you go. Torg's Pact is going to allow us to actually do some real serious damage on this build. And I know that we have that two-piece there that says spell damage. That's actually not a huge deal. It's made up for by the fact that we get the infused back bar on the resto staff here, and we get that huge bonus to our weapon spell damage. So we get about 150 extra over what Torg's would normally, or over what an infused weapon would normally provide. So this is a really good set still on the stamina build, and because I say this for Torg's Pact because it's a really good burst set. If your burst is on the lower end, Torg's Pact is a great set to run to bring it up to more acceptable or even higher levels. If your burst is on the higher end, Torg's Pact can really push it to the next level still. But at the higher end, you can start using other sets and they might even outperform Torg's. But Torg's is a great set, especially since we're struggling kind of with that max stat on the damage side in general because we dump so much into health recovery. So that is why we run this set, guys. It's a very good set. You can see here we have gone with the dual infused weapons. Very important you go for the dual infused. Don't be tempted to do Nirnhoned here. The Torg's Pact enchant is much more important than the bonus weapon spell damage that Nirnhoned will give. Trust me. Go for infused here. On both of these bad boys. And then on the rings, you can see that we have gone with robust on every single one of them. They're just green. I do have to upgrade them. We could be pushing 32k stam if I actually upgrade this build a bit. But like always, guys, jewelry crafting's expensive, and I'm just going to be moving on to another build. So I didn't upgrade them this time. But yeah, I went with robust instead of the tri-stats. I was going to go with the tri-stat, but at the end of the day, 35k HP around there is honestly enough. Like, nothing's really going to burst you down if you have around 30 plus k HP in PvP. That maybe something maybe a super glass cannon nightblade, but 35k, especially on a build like this with huge amounts of health recovery, pretty much nothing's going to smack you down. So we didn't really need the bonus HP. The tri-stat food that we were running actually covered our Magicka pool really well. So we actually went with max stam here just to up that max stam so we could put a little bit more damage and a little bit more healing on this build. And I think it was the better call than going for the tri-stat here. For the enchants on the gear, you can see that we've gone with tri-stats on the big pieces only, and then everything else, like the rings and necklace, is all max stam. Very important. If you want to spend the money, though, you can always do the infused rings and necklace of Torg's Pact, and that will give you more weapon damage. You'll have a little bit less max stam, so a little bit less stam pool to work with. That being said, though, it should be okay. You'll still have like 29k stam or so it won't be too bad. 28, 29k stam. It is up to you, though. The max stam is nice for that sustained purpose. And then on the traits on the gear, guys, we have gone with full impenetrable, and then I have one well-fitted on the Troll King mask. Running one or two well-fitted on this build is totally fine because the roll dodge is actually quite useful, especially if you have to tank a lot of players. But you can just go full impen as well. Impen's really good. So, honestly, it's just whatever traits you really have. You want to have majority impen, though. You need to have, like I said, like 3k crit resist, or you're going to get wrecked. If you don't have enough, you'll get hit too hard. And there you go. That is the gear, guys. Let's move on to the skills that we're running. We're going to start on the Greatsword bar. And while we look at this Greatsword bar, before I really go through it, I just want to say that this is my subjective Templar Greatsword bar. You guys have seen me run this Greatsword bar a lot on a lot of different builds. This is just how I like to run Greatsword on the Templar. For this particular build, biting jabs is actually a really good skill. I just don't like using it, so I did not use it. Wrecking Blow would also be a good skill if you want to use that, or maybe that in combination with jabs. They'd be really good skills for this build, and it's because we are so tanky. But I decided not to go that route because we have the Resto Staff and we get that easy undodgeable poke for that huge weapon damage buff. I thought that going with a single target burst kit on the Greatsword would be a little bit more fun for me on this build and give me the opportunity to actually just like wreck someone really hard on quite a tanky spec. It's really interesting how hard we can hit on this build. So let's take a look at this. The first skill that we have, of course, is Executioner. This is going to be your standard execute. I have the single target morph here because I favored that single target kit. You guys can definitely go for the AoE morph if you want, especially if you're going to run jabs and you still want to run the execute with it. The AoE morph is going to be really great. The next skill that we have is Crit Rush. This is going to be our primary gap closer. It deals a pretty decent amount of damage. I mean, we don't have a half bad tooltip on it, to be perfectly honest. 5,800 on the crit rush is not too bad, plus our Torx Pact enchant. So that actually means that our crit rush can deal some pretty bulky damage. And this tooltip goes up even further with the Resto Staff poke. So yeah, pretty good gap closer for this build. Very strong, and definitely can deal some hurt on this spec. The next ability that we have is Race Against Time. This is here for two reasons. Number one, that major expedition plus the reduced sprint cost. This is going to allow us to move around quickly and very cheaply, maintaining that stam bar on very low regen. Really great skill for a build like this that doesn't have great regen but wants to remain mobile. And then number two, this gives us the minor force buff that will increase our crit damage by 10%. This affects everything that we do, including our Torx Pact enchants, so a very nice buff for this build. We don't have a massive crit rate, but still, it's a great buff for the build, guys. And then the next skill that we have is Rally. This is going to be your primary heal. Outside of Rally and Meditate, that is pretty much your only heals. So Rally is just kind of like a heal over time / burst heal. Honestly, when you're in your regen cycles, you pretty much only use Rally for the heal over time and the damage buff. It can be a good burst heal. I mean, I've popped like 20k rallies on this build. It was really strong. That being said, you don't really get the chance to use it too terribly often. When you really need to pop the big rally, you do have access to it, which is nice. But for the most part, this is here for that buff and heal over time, proccing that Troll King especially. The next ability that we have is Binding Javelin. This is going to be your primary stun. It, of course, can proc Burning Light. And yeah, if you do a light attack Binding Javelin and it procs Burning Light, you get your Torx Pact enchant. This can actually deal massive amounts of damage to a player if you get that lucky Burning Light on top of your enchant. So it's a really, really good skill in that regard. 41 meter stun as well. This is really nice for setting your crit rush combos. And then finally, for the ultimate, I have gone with Flawless Dawnbreaker. This was my favorite ult out of the ones that I tried on this build. I tried Dawnbreaker of Smiting, I tried Flawless, and I also tried the Adric Spear ult, Crescent Sweep. This build's slow, so I didn't like Crescent Sweep because I ended up missing it a lot because people would just move away, and you have to be really close to get Crescent Sweep to actually hit somebody. Dawnbreaker of Smiting was good, the stun was nice, but at the end of the day, I really liked Flawless Dawnbreaker because on our resto bar, we have Lights Champion, and we use this ultimate quite a lot on this build because it is actually very strong for this build, making our Crit Rush Torx Pact even more powerful. So there you go, guys. Flawless Dawnbreaker I thought was the best choice just to further bulk up our front bar here, allow us to just push a bit more damage, and still have that very big tank as well. So on the back bar, we have got our first ability, Power of the Light. This is a really great skill for this build. It pretty much allows you to put massive burst on them. You put the thing on them, then you start smacking them. Power of the Light will explode after 6 seconds. You use this to just deal a great combo, and it applies Minor Fracture and Minor Breach, so your opponent gets debuffed as well, so you can hit them even harder. So a really great skill for this build to set up that single target burst combo. The next skill that we have is, of course, guys, Deep Thoughts, and it's what you guys all came here for. We know that. The Deep Thoughts ability. This is what this entire build was essentially built around. I wanted to make Deep Thoughts work for it. I wanted to make a Meditate build, essentially, with no sustain that relies on Deep Thoughts to stay alive. And we put the build together so you can successfully just face tank people in your Meditate. One player will really struggle to kill you. They probably won't be able to. 2 players will struggle to kill you. 3 players, maybe they'll start to kill you. 4+ players, I mean, you can just sit there and face tank so much in Deep Thought on this build. It is absolutely insane. So for this particular build, we went with the Deep Thought morph versus the other morph here that would give us a bonus to the amount of healing that we take. And the reason I went with the Deep Thought morph is because we actually, I think, needed the sustain more for long-term tanking, just because when we go into the Meditate, we were getting resource back, but just not enough, and the Deep Thought morph gives you like 15% more of each resource back. So if you think about that, that's like a 30% bonus to how much resource you get back from the skills. So the Deep Thought morph is really, really good. The other morph that increases the healing is, I just didn't pick it because we have so much healing power. Honestly, if something is killing you through your Meditate, you probably need to move away from there anyway because that's doing a lot of damage. This build has a ton of healing, and the other Meditate morph I didn't think was... I mean, it would increase our healing by like 10%. I thought the sustain change was just the better option. So there you go, guys. definitely the best skill on this build by a long shot. The next skill that we have, of course, is Combat Prayer, and this is here for its buff purposes entirely, and the fact that it can apply Troll King to allies as well. So this is going to give Minor Berserk, Minor Resolve, Minor Ward to you and all your allies that you hit with it. 8% bonus to the damage you do, and both physical and spell resistance minor buffs. Very, very nice. And then on top of it, this will apply Troll King to people that you heal them to. This actually gives us quite a great off bar on this build for like sustain / group gameplay. The fact that we can Troll King everyone, buff them, give the entire group Minor Berserk. Yeah, this is a really, really good buff to be running, not only for ourselves, but for group combat as well. And this build has really good mag sustain, so don't worry about maybe, oh, we might not be able to cast this a lot. You have tons of magicka on this build. You don't have to worry about it, so you'll be able to spam this as much as you need it to keep that buff up. The next skill that we have is Extended Ritual. Very important for PvP. We remove 5 harmful negative effects. Yeah, gotta have a purge, guys, especially in today's meta. It helps so much. And on top of it, the ally can activate the synergy, and they can remove all the negative effects from themselves, so more group synergy there. And then finally, it throws the healing ring down. Not a lot of healing, but yet again, another way for us to proc Troll King on ourselves and our allies as well. And then finally, guys, the last normal ability is Restoring Focus. This is here purely for the buffs. We gain that 5,200 physical and spell resist. Super awesome. The Minor Protection for 8% reduced incoming damage. And then Minor Vitality for 8% increased healing as well. So there you go, guys. Really good defensive skill for this build. And then for the ultimate, we have gone with Lights Champion. And this is going to be your, I'm not going to lie, I don't think there was one time when I went into Lights Champion and something killed me through it. And I'm even like, I'm being dead serious when I say like 20 to 30 players, if I Light Championed, they had to wait until this ultimate was done to kill me because I wasn't going to die in the Lights Champion. It is so strong on this build. And not only is it good defensively, but it gives you that major force buff, so it makes your offensive capabilities even better on your front bar. Yeah, this brings this build to next level troll mode. Without Lights Champion, this build's troll mode. With Lights Champion, you can tank 20 players if you play it right. It's absolutely insane. It is such a good ultimate. Very, very cheap as well. So there you go, guys. That is the skill set for this build. Let's take a look at the champion points. Starting off in that tower tree, we've got 26 Warlord, 9 in Bashing, and 9 in Sprinter. We got to break free, we got to sprint, and we got to bash. There you go. In the Lover tree, we have got 75 Healthy and 56 in Tenacity. So huge focus on Healthy here for that health recovery. 14% at 75. We literally have to put 25 points in to get that last 1%, so it's not worth it. And then in Tenacity, we have that 12% bonus restore on our fully charged heavy attacks. This is huge because this is both our stam and mag sustain. So outside of Meditate, our heavy attacks are going to restore huge amounts of resource. I think our greatsword heavies are somewhere in the nature of 5k, and then the resto heavy is somewhere in the nature of 8k resource back. That is massive. So my kind of tip with this is that when you're on the defensive, Meditate is usually the way to go for resource return. And then when you're on the offensive, heavy attacks with your greatsword are your best friend to remain offensive and still have resource as you do it. So there you go, guys. Greatsword's nice too because you get a little bit of bonus damage after you follow a heavy with another attack as well. So a little bit more synergy on this build there. The important passive that we get here, of course, is Wind Running because Wind Running is the best. We also get a bonus to our health recovery while sprinting, so that's good for Wind Running, and a little bit of movement speed. Pairing that with our Steed Mundus, we get 7% movement speed, so a green Swifty trait, baby. That's not bad. Let's move on to the Shadow Tree. 37 Shadow Ward and 37 in Tumbling. 1 Befoul to cap off that 75 points because this is my main. Yeah, we got to roll dodge and we got to block. Both of these are very important for PvP, even in heavy armor. And pretty equal split here. We're not running Sword and Board, so we don't really favor roll or block more than the other. We just use both as we need them. And then nothing in the Apprentice Tree because we don't run magic. In the Atronach, 81 Master at Arms, huge amounts of direct damage increase. Most of our damage is direct damage, so this is very important. And then 39 Physical Weapon Expert for that increased Greatsword attack. Don't do anything in Staff Expert. Our Resto Staff does no damage. It's just for buffing with that light attack. And then the important passive that we get here, of course, is Tactician. When we roll dodge, we set an opponent off balance. We don't roll a lot, but we still have access to the Tactician passive, which is really nice, just for that bonus damage against an off balance opponent. And then in the Ritual tree, guys, we have 49 in Mighty, 37 Piercing, and 44 in Precise Strikes. Nice even spread here. A little bit more on the upfront damage side, a little bit less on the penetration, and a bit in the crit there too. Maybe because our crit's a little bit lower. We do have Crit Rush. We could take a few points out of here and maybe put them front heavy, but for the most part, an equal spread here is pretty good. And the important passives, of course, is Perfect Strike for that 12% weapon crit, Exploiter for that bonus to off-balance enemies, and then Last Stand. Because we're playing a tank, this is awesome. We're using the Resto Staff heal. If we get caught with our health low, Resto heal, Major Heroism. Yep, full troll mode. That's all I can say. Very good passive for this build. Let's look at that red tree. 44 Ironclad, 60 resistant, 50 in Spell Shield. Huge amount in crit resist because we need it. Spell Shield, of course, because we have to have some spell resist. And then Ironclad to counter incoming direct damage. We could, of course, put one more point in this tree and get the Reinforced passive. That's kind of funny. But it's like, it's such a minimal damage shield, doesn't even matter. And then in the Lady tree, 27 Hardy, 27 Elemental, 9 Thick Skin. Not a lot in Thick Skin because, of course, we have Purge to counter the conditions. Also, we have massive amounts of health recovery. So sometimes you can just sit there and the conditions won't even do anything. You can just out-heal it. And Hardy Elemental Defender just to counter incoming physical and magical damage. Equal bulk here. And then in the Lord tree, we have got 27 in Quick Recovery and a whopping 41 in Heavy Armor Focus to really bulk our physical resistance because we were lacking just a little bit on this build. So there you go, guys. That is the build. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So let's take a look at that PvP commentary, guys. So to start off here, we have a little bit of a Zergy fight, and this build is great in all kinds of different combat. To be perfectly honest, it's very just chunky, so you can use it in large-scale fights, Cyrodiil PvP, Zergs, Battlegrounds. This would actually be an awesome build for Battlegrounds. You don't even have to change a thing because the sustain is just built into it through the skills we use. So yeah, as you can see here, we're going to charge right into this keep, and just look how chunky we are. So many of our fellow players just go down there, and our health hasn't even been touched. We sit in the Meditate. There's the Ballista alt on us there. Someone on the wall shooting at us. Still, no one can even touch the health points. And we're just going to hammer on people here just with some heavy attacks. It's important on this build if you want to remain offensive and you're not getting attacked too much to use a lot of heavies to just make sure you don't run out of your resources. But as you can see here, we're just going to keep on trolling, taking no damage, getting blasted from the wall. We res Mad Shadow Man, pull a little bit more attention than we should there. And here you see we just jump right back into our Meditate, do a little bit of healing up, right back into a dodge roll, into the Meditate, and a nice little peel away there. Really low on our stamina here, but it doesn't even, honestly, on this build, does it even matter? The times that you get caught with your stam low, you're actually like, you see there, we actually take a lot of damage. We could have potentially gone down, but as you can see, we get into the Meditate, the Troll King proc. Look at the abuse that this build can take. I mean, just look, we're just getting blasted by like, they literally just stop shooting at us because we don't die. People just stop shooting. Here you see we take a ton of damage yet again into the Meditate, dodge roll, making sure to keep that stamina up as we kind of peel away. That's kind of the pattern that you want to do. A big thing to note here is that we do the jump into the Meditate. It's very important that you actually nail that airborne jump into the Meditate for this build. If you just meditate on the ground, guys, you're going to be very stationary. Movement's too important for Cyrodiil for you to not do the jump into Meditate. Here you see we're just line of sighted, so we'll just meditate here, get a little bit of resource back before these guys jump on top of us. Our whole group kind of scatters here, and I'm not going to be able to get away, so I decide, Kate, we'll just do the pack thing and go down fighting. We pop the resto ult, just taking smacks from everybody there. We've got snipers all around us. We've got, it's mostly just Nightblades at this point. We've just got a ton of Nightblades on us, and yeah, not much we can do. But there you go, guys. Just a little bit of a look at the stress test of this build. Very, very tanky spec. So let's take a peek at this next fight here. We're just sitting around meditating at this keep as the wall has been busted open. This guy comes here and he attacks. We get bursted by him and from the Nightblade at the same time. They drop us to about the half health mark. Troll King kicks in, right back up to full health. We do a little bit of a rally here, there too, and we just peel around this corner and go back into our meditate just to make sure we maintain the high resource. You don't want to expend any resource that you don't need to on this build, especially when you're going to have to start tanking a lot of people. Making sure to maintain your pools as high as possible is very important. You can easily heal away a lot of damage, so you got to make sure you keep those pools up so you can do it. And here you see we're just doing a little bit of movement with the meditate. We do a roll behind the wall, making sure to line of sight, and then into the meditate. We stall up until our resto alt here. And like I said in the build video, guys, when you're in your resto alt on this build, pretty much nothing's going to kill you. So you can just go fully offensive in the resto alt. Or you can even just go back into a meditate in your resto alt if you need resource back too. Here you see we just do the same thing. Playing this build in a keep's kind of fun. You got to kind of nail that movement just a little bit. But you can just run around the corners and meditate around the corner. It works really well. Like I said again, though, using the jump meditate is a really good strategy because it allows you to use the meditate while moving. I can't stress that enough. It's very important for this build. And yeah, something I also want to mention about the meditate is that when I have the CC immunity up, you see these players, they're not very quick to bash me, but we'll have some clips where you see them bash me. But when we have the meditate up, we can be bashed in order, and someone can stop our meditate. But when we have CC immunity and we're meditating, we actually can't be bashed in our meditate. Now that's the time that you want to try to meditate, because as you can see here, we have the CC immunity, and as soon as the CC immunity is gone, we're going to peel out of the meditate and just run around the corner here, go back into another one, and we're going to take a stun eventually, or they're just, yeah, there it is, finally the wrecking blow. But that's just a little bit of a strategy there. Your meditate is most powerful when you have the CC immunity up. So even using a skill like a movability with this build or a build like this would actually be a really good pairing because it would give you the CC immunity. And like I had mentioned in the build video, running a movability pots would also be good as well if you wanted the CC immunity for your meditate. But the healing potions we run are pretty superior. As you can see there, we go into the healing alt and into the meditate in front of everybody. And they just all smack on us and literally do nothing through the healing alt. They don't even dent the health. It's so insane. Like you guys have seen it already in just these few clips, how much we can tank with that darn resto alt. It's so nuts. Here you see we do a quick turn, very good stun with the javelin there, and oh my god. What a cheeky kill. There's no words to describe it. They're just beating on me for so long. I don't think they were expecting the burst, and just like that we can turn around, pick up a nice kill here, and then go right back to tanking these guys out. This guy gets rezzed. He's got no resource. We just make sure to put him right back down again. Try to keep our kills down because we could potentially win the fight if reinforcements show up or if it just lasts long enough. I mean, we're tanking them out so far. But as you can see here, they're not going to try to res their guy again. We're just standing there in the meditate. No one's bashing or stunning us. We get time stopped in our meditate. We just don't even break it. No need to. Here we see a yellow player low on HP, and I get absolutely sideswiped. Look at that. Gotta have that resto alt up, huh? Maybe we could have survived. All right, guys. So this is the last clip that we have for this video. And this is going to be a little bit of group fighting. We're not in a group with these guys, but we're definitely going to work with them to fight against these hordes of AD that we're going to be encountering here. So this again was a good fight that I had on the build. And I had some really strong EP players that were in the field here, and we had a lot of AD coming towards us. And this fight here showcases a little bit of the body blocking that you can do with this build, just to kind of like distract players or even get them to attack you instead of friendly players. But as you can see here, we're just engaging at the beginning of this fight here. This guy's really low HP, just pick him off right away. I do want to note the full offensive combo on this build. It is actually quite good, especially when you get the Torx Pact enchants. You've got the Resto Staff, light attack, and you do the light attack into the power of the light. Very important to land that light attack first before you go Power of the Light, simply to make sure that you get that bonus damage enchant. There you go, you see we get the Power of the Light poke. We're just going to go into the meditate and get a bit of resource back. And here you see we do a bit of body blocking. We just jump into the middle of the field here and start meditating, and pretty much all the AD players jump on us, and they don't do anything. They literally don't do anything until we pop out of the meditate. Just go back around the corner, quickly buff up with our minor berserk, and we start hammering on these guys. We did the resto light attack poke, I think, before we crit rushed in there. Like I said, important to get that light attack poke in. Yeah, keep putting some pressure onto these guys here. We do the crit rush into the Dawnbreaker, go for some executes. The other EP jump on top of the same player with us. He was pretty tanky, but we do take him down, and I just keep pushing forward. My goal in this kind of fight here, especially when we're doing the smaller group stuff, is to be the player that is the most positioned to be attacked, essentially. I just want to put myself where most people are going to attack me before they attack some other friendly players. And like you can see here, we do it yet again. A Sork's just beating on us in our meditate, doing no damage, and we're just getting our resource back so we can stun him, and put the damage down. So there's actually a little bit of an intermission here. We head to this resource and we cap it. And during the cap process, the AD re-engage with us. We get a big stun on the Javelin there into the Dawnbreaker, and you see that huge combo. We absolutely destroy that guy. We go for the Power of the Light, Resto Light Attack poke to fully buff. Go for the crit rush into this guy. The Power of the Light pulls him out of stealth, and we finish him with the Executioner. Power of the Light is the only real utility we have against stealth on this build, and it's just at that end when the explosion goes off. You got to pray you pull him out. Here you see that these guys here just start smacking on me. I'm low on stam, so I just go into the meditate, and none of them bash me. Nothing. I don't get stunned until he finally drops the leap, and at that point, I'm right back up to full resource, and we're just going to buff up quickly, go for the big stun on this guy. We go for the finishing combo there, and you see the Sork's rune cage come down, stopping us from getting the kill there. We just keep hammering on this guy. Nobody here is doing enough damage to stop us yet, so there's no point in stopping to heal ourselves, so we just keep putting the pressure on. This guy here wanders in and doesn't really do too much to defend himself after JD Moonhand kind of immobilizes him there. And we just put him down, right back into the meditate, just get a little bit of resource back. Like I said, guys, important to make sure that that we spend time contemplating our futures in some deep thought and get that resource back. Here you see we engage yet again with the AD, and we have the EP behind us, but we're doing exactly what we need to do here, and we're just going to body block. We're just making sure we're at the front line, making sure that everybody is opening. There you see the snipers opening with their ganks on us instead of the other players, and we're just going to make sure that we stay here at the front lines, right back into that meditate to make sure we heal a little bit. And at this point, guys, this is the intro clip, so if you've seen the intro clip, then you know how the rest of the fight goes. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I really hoped that you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to hit that like and or subscribe button. We stream live on Twitch, guys. I stream almost every single day, so please come check out the stream if you guys want to check out the builds that I'm working on now, or you know, just come ask questions or even just hang out. I've got a lot of different stuff that I like to do in ESO, but it's pretty much all PvP related, just lots of different builds and stuff. So come check it out, come talk some shop, come say hi if you guys want. I love meeting new faces, so please come hang out. And then finally, guys, we are sponsored by What the Fast. They are a VPN for gamers. It's a local Canadian company. Oh, my blessed Canadian heart. And if you guys are interested in a VPN, they can give you better ping to your games if you have bad ping to them. It is 100% free to try. You don't need a credit card or anything to sign up for it, so you guys can try it out completely on your own. And yeah, if it doesn't help, then no harm, no foul. So yeah, there you go, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video again. And yeah, we're really getting a lot of newer subs coming into the channel. It's really exciting. It's been going really well. The stream's been going really well. And we're going to continue to keep doing this, guys. We're going to stream full-time all summer, definitely. Hopefully, we're going to keep going full-time until Christmas. And yeah, this is exciting. ESO's picking up. And I've been really enjoying this patch yet again for the cool builds. and it was nice to put something weird like this together. The next build I want to work on is something kind of like an engineer from Guild Wars 2. So if you guys are interested in that, maybe check that out. It's going to be coming soon, and we'll probably be doing it in stream, so you can check that out too. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Have a great night, everybody.